two, three. Hi, guys. It's Michael with Literally Michael, and I've got such a special guest today, Miss Liz Gale. Hi, Liz.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. How you doing? I'm gonna have to stop screaming. You're like so calm and cool and collected. I love it.
Yeah, I've
How
I've been
how were the
chilling.
ski slopes? You've been chilling? Did you ski?
I skied, yeah. I did not ski as much as the teenagers did, but man, I don't know how they have the energy to keep going all day. But I did, and it was so beautiful up on the mountain.
I
Much
bet.
needed.
I bet. I
Yeah.
bet. I bet. Well, I've been, talking to Liz, for weeks now and just getting to know Liz, and her story is so beautiful, and she's such an adorable human being in our universe today. And I just want to share her with you all here on our channels and just kind of dive a little deeper into you guys getting to know Liz and finding out what inspires her and where she is today and just a few things she's been doing. I say she's an author, she's an activist, she's an ex-Scientologist, but most of all, she's living life today outside of Scientology, which is so beautiful. We're all sitting here today. We're all activists to get the children out and to save the children inside Scientology. That's our main goal. So, I'm just going to dive right into this, Liz, and let's get to know you. So, how long have you been ex-Scientologist?
Well, I knew that I didn't want to be a Scientologist anymore in my early 20s, so I guess I shouldn't date myself, um, but it took about 10-ish years to actually, cut ties and really get out
Right,
of it.
right.
Which was about,
Yeah.
I wanna say, yeah, like 10 years-ish ago.
Yeah, yeah, and I hear that from a lot of the kids. I call them I'll say second gen or third gens,
Mhm.
where it takes them a while once they discover, like, where the hell am I? What am I doing here? How did
Yes.
what did my parents do? And then it takes a while for you guys to just like, I've seen this across the board with the kids. Is like it takes a lot of courage and emotional stability just to blow, as they say, to get the
Mhm.
hell out of there. And then once you're out of there, it takes a lot of courage and rebuilding a foundation that you guys never had when you never had a chance to build that foundation that we have in the outer world. And so, I find it just so remarkable that you guys are so strong and so incredible to just be able to stand where you stand today. I mean, you're a mom. You have how many kids?
I'm a mother of 2, boy mom all the way.
Boy, mom, and what's their ages
Let's see, 17, so I've got a senior in high school going off into the world and a 9-year-old.
and their
So,
names?
Coven and Lockton.
Oven and Lockton. Beautiful
Yeah,
name. I love the name.
yeah.
Hey. And
Yeah.
they were just yeah. How did you pick the names? What brought you to the names?
We basically my husband and I pretty much made them up. Coven also stands for 13, so there's like a numerology, and, then with Lockton, we took a family name and turned it into a body of water, so they're both bodies of water.
I
Yeah.
love that.
I worked I was a preschool teacher for 10-ish years in Portland and, came across a lot of kids, a lot of names, and just wanted my kids to have a name of nobody I'd ever known before. So no past association with the names.
I love that. And our boys, I know I'm a boy, and with my mom, I drove her crazy. She was like, "Michael, what are you doing now?" I was always into it and always like,
Mhm.
causing chaos. How's it been to be a mom of two boys?
Well, it's loud around here. It's usually really
Well, you got
loud.
three boys, right?
Yeah, pretty much, pretty much. And that's one of, I think, my husband's best strengths is that he really does play with the boys and like they do sports together. And, they all went skiing and I really just got to tag along. um, so that's really great. Yeah, being a mom of boys, I mean, I've never been a mom of girls either, but it's a trip. It's wild. It's wild raising another human being. And now that my senior is about to, move out and become an adult, go to college, whatever he plans on doing, it's hard not to have your own life like flash before your
Oh,
eyes.
right. Well, I'm a designer, and I worked with so many women with children,
Mhm.
designing their homes, designing the kids' room, and through the years, I've watched them grow up and I've
Yeah.
watched them move out, and I remember that day for many of them where they they were taking them to college, or they were getting them their own apartment, and they were
Mhm.
moving out with their buddies and moving in with their buddies or whatever, their girlfriends. And it's kind of like there's that thing they call the empty nest syndrome where
Oh,
you're like,
yeah.
yeah. So has that kind of hit you yet, or you're going through it, or what's your thought about that? Like, where are you with that?
I'm processing. I mean, I have a 9-year-old. I mean, a sweet little
Oh, so
baby
you
still
still,
in the nest. Yeah.
so you,
But
so
I will say, like, I have basketball boys, so basketball season just ended. We just had, like, the last game. We had senior night. We had awards dinner, and, it's like death by a thousand slices, I swear. It's just a constant reminder, and I feel a bit betrayed by Mother Nature, to be honest, because I'm like, where are the hormones that are supposed to make I did everything I was supposed to do. He's a good boy. He's smart. He's capable. He's gonna be fine. He's compassionate. Like, I'm so proud. I feel like he couldn't be better off, and yet I'm sad that he's
well, that's
leaving.
part of it. That's part of life.
Well, it's a bummer. I think it's a little rude of, like, the nature cycle. I should be stoked. I should be like, "Bye."
Bye, see ya. Don't want to be ya. Have fun. Don't
Take your
knock on the
little brother
door when.
too. No.
Yeah, take your
No.
brother with you, right?
Yeah, right. Well, and
Yes,
those are some fun things to look forward to, because I do really want them to have a bond. We've worked really hard. They have 8 years different. So that's been
right.
so important to me. So I am looking forward to, um, I don't know, the next step and everybody evolving but still having each other. I have a really, really great relationship with both of my kids, and so I'm really happy for everything they're doing.
Well, it's so, and it's like part of life. And I always talk about it's part of the expansion of life,
Yeah.
and to, yeah, embrace that expansion. And just, for me, like, I couldn't wait to get out of the house because I was in a very abusive family with
Oh,
my
yeah.
dad. Yeah. And so it was like the moment I turned 18, I was out of there.
Right.
I moved in with 2 girlfriends. One was actually my girlfriend at the time. The other one was my ex-girlfriend when it was like,
Ooh.
and that was really just kind of like, I'm like, I look back at it and I'm like, what the hell was I thinking? Because, and then I would like room jump. Like, I'd break up with one girlfriend and I'd go over to the ex-girlfriend and I'd hang out with her for a while, and then I'd go back and forth. But we were all such good friends. It really didn't make it was like we were Three's a Company, which was a TV
Yeah.
show, right?
Yeah.
And so it was really fun. It was fun. I really enjoyed it. I really, but I just couldn't wait to get out of the house. And I didn't go to college. I didn't, that wasn't my path, but I was blessed with the gift of design from day one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so this is a beautiful adventure for all of and every moment there's going to be a surprise, and that's the best beauty of it all. And then one day they're going to get, married to a partner, or,
Mhm.
potentially, and that's going to be a whole nother world. And one day you're going to
Mhm.
become a grandmother
Oh my
potentially.
goodness. It's so weird to think about because my husband family I mean, we were in our 20s, right? And he was like 21 when our son was born, and his mom was 21 when he was born. So she was the youngest grandma ever. She was just, give me the baby," which saved my 20s. I mean, really did.
Right, right,
But
right.
it's
Yeah.
fun to think about that role. Um, Obviously, I don't want that too soon or anything like that. It's a big responsibility, but it's fun. It's fun to think about that. When one of the times I was having a really hard time mental health wise, and I went into therapy. I uh, I had really been, like, lamenting a lot, I don't know if that's the right word, but on all the loss of my family, and so my counselor at the time had me do a visualizing exercise where I would imagine myself at 90 years old on my 90th birthday and surrounded by whoever, you know?
Right.
And so creating that sort of new hope or new expectation has been really fun. So I do think about that. I think about, I mean, I'll talk to you about it. I won't talk to my kid about him becoming a dad. Nope, not having a
Yep.
conversation.
Not having that conversation.
But it's
But
fun to think.
yeah, and it's like when you say, surrounded by a family, it's like what's so beautiful with the kids out of Scientology is you have such a beautiful family surrounding you now. It's like
Yeah.
even like with Serge, remember when went to his first protest and he went for a couple times and he came back and it was one of the most beautiful things he said to me. He goes, "Oh my God, I found my family.
Mm,
I didn't realize it, but it's my family." And it
right,
really is. Unfortunately, we're born with a family and we don't get to select them.
right,
It's like even like with me, it's like, I didn't get to select a dad and it wasn't like always bad times, but it was like there was some hard times with him. He was an
right.
LAPD officer. So there was a lot of bad times with him, but now it's like I get to select my family. It's like you're becoming my family members. All the kids are my family becoming my family members, and it's so endearing for me because I get to see the beauty and the growth and the expansions that you guys get to go through because life is completely different on the outside than it was on the inside.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it really is, and there's a lot for us to process, and there's something about having a tribe of people that you don't really have to explain yourself to. Um, it's I don't know, there's, like, so much unspoken understanding because of our shared, history and background, and not, like, in a trauma bonding way, but just an understanding way, you know? So,
yeah.
it's
We just
awesome.
did you see that little message we got? Sometimes we
Oh.
get to choose our families, envisioning those people surrounding you in old age. It's a beautiful concept. Yeah, it's really a beautiful
Mhm.
concept. It's like,
Yeah. I
I'll be
used
I'll
to
be
not be
hitting that.
able to do it,
Yeah,
and it took me a while to actually be able to envision that, and it's very strange to envision your, like, great-great-grandkids, faceless little kids running around with balloons. I don't know.
yeah,
It's weird.
yeah.
It's probably good for me,
It's
though.
a, it's yeah. What? It is good for you, and you get to like I'm going to be there before you will be in my 90s by far probably and I have a great group of friends around me and
Mhm.
now with Serge I have this whole new family around me that is so beautiful and it's just like I love um the just the beauty inside you guys. I mean
Mm.
like when we first met, when you stayed here
Mhm.
and it was so beautiful that we had the time together that we did.
Yeah.
You know, it was like the just to hear your story and just to like spend time with you and get to
Mhm.
know you the way, we had that moment together, a couple moments
Mhm.
together. And
Yeah.
it was just really, really beautiful. And I just really appreciate that because, each one of you are individuals that are just so dynamic. And when it's like, I always say to people, like when they're getting on YouTube and they're like, "Well, I don't know what I'm going to do on YouTube. I don't know what I'm going to sound, And I said, it takes a few time, lives or many lives to find your
Right.
voice.
Yeah.
And that's the same. Yeah. And that's the same thing in life. How did you find your voice?
I don't know that I have, but I've been
Oh,
how I started practicing. Um, I think TikTok actually really helped me. I've always been a writer. So this whole time that I've been processing leaving Scientology, I have been writing. Um, I wrote a whole novel that was like about a 1950s housewife who thinks her husband is turning into a creep and she finds a self-help group. We talked about this a little bit. Like that's kind of my grandma, right? Which is kind of me because I was raised to believe I was my grandma, sort of. So it processing has always been through writing, but TikTok is really fun and was really a way for me to loosen up, because this long form on YouTube's fun. I love chatting like with friends, but I'm not as comfortable just sitting up here for hours by myself. I'm like a short and sweet kind of
yeah.
kind of girl.
I was there was a platform called Clubhouse. I don't know if you
Yeah.
heard of it. And during the pandemic, and Serge introduced me to it, and he's like, "Oh, you should go on there and just like, check it out and have fun and talk about design and all that." And I went in there and I started talking about design and weddings and all that. And I was just like, I like talking about myself, but then I was like, this is, then I looked over and I saw the pet world. And then I jumped over to the pet world inside of Clubhouse. And they ended up like coining the phrase, like I was like the Oprah of Clubhouse for pets. Because of what I started doing is I
Cool.
started doing exactly this. I'd find people that I wanted
Mhm.
to have an interest in and just like, get to know them and bring them in and just see their dynamic sides and
Mhm.
just, talk about, life with them. And, so I would have professional vets, professional orthopedics for pets, nutritionists. And so they were just really a great group. And I'd have all these classes or all these rooms all the time scheduled every week at the same time during the
Mhm.
pandemic because we weren't going anywhere. And it was just like,
Right.
I really, really enjoyed that. And so that's why I like to do this with people. It's like, to have guests on and get to know them and talk about their
Yeah.
lives and what their achievements are. And you just discussed a novel. Are we talking about the novel that I have in my hand?
No, no, I would
Oh,
consider
I
the
didn't know
book.
about this one.
Yeah, I
Okay.
would consider the book that you have in your hand like a memoir, so it's
Okay.
nonfiction. Um, Confessions of an Ex-Scientologist Pothead, if you guys want to get into my weird mind, go for that. There she is.
There she
Um,
is.
there she is, she's on the Amazon, all things.
Yeah. So what inspired you to write this book? Like where did you start? Like a lot of people always say, oh, you should write a book. And I'm like, where do I start? Where did you start?
Well, I had the idea of this exact book, Confessions of an Ex-Scientologist Pothead, about 8 years ago, and I just didn't do it. And I wrote the novel. I was working on this novel, and it's a full-length novel, is around 60,000 to 100,000 words. It's very beefy historical novel. So I worked on that for a long time. Um, but I don't know how to explain, like, I got on TikTok, I realized that that I am kind of a shorter content kinda girl, so that's more of what this book is. It's my story, my personal story, like, from an I perspective, first person voice. Um, but yes, I do have this other novel, and I'm also working on the second book in this, which will be Confessions of an Ex-Scientologist Mom. So no joke when I say that I've been using writing to heal and process. Like, it's legit. I've been consistently doing that for a long time.
Well,
Um,
yeah, because I would say this was probably a lot of therapy. It's like you found, a lot of, did you find a lot of peace once you completed the book or during the writing the book or each chapter?
uh, yes and no. No, I didn't show anybody this book. Like, I said, it's a crazy idea I had, and this has to be the year, this has to be my decade, this has to be the time for me where I'm embracing these ideas and I'm not putting them on the back shelf, in the back burner anymore. So I thought, well, I'm just going to do this. So I did it. My friend designed the cover. I mean, I just went for it.
Well, I love that your friend put the red hair on it because I love the color of your hair. It's so beautiful.
Oh,
And
thank
it's
you.
just like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just such a great illustration. And I just, I just got the book and everybody that's in the chat, if you haven't heard about the book and you don't have the book, get the book because I'm gonna read through it. And once I get through it, or maybe, a few chapters into it, I'll have Liz back on and we'll do kind of like a question and answer thing,
Sure.
real short for her, keep it short for her. And just like dive into it. That, I'm on one book right now, and then I actually love it. Can you put the Amazon link on the chat for people? So, and or everybody knows how to look on Amazon, but definitely if you guys, I would love for you guys to get the book and dive into it, and then join us in a couple of other rooms together, lives together, so we could do like a question and answer
That
together with
yeah, that'd be
Liz.
fun.
And yeah, it would be like, because I can't wait to read it because I have not picked it up to read yet. And I promise you, once I get through the other book I'm on right now, I'll
You're
get into
fun.
this one. And I'm like so excited. It's just like, um, so once you wrote the book, and you were done with it.
Mm-hmm.
What was your feeling at that moment?
I don't know that I ever felt totally done with it. I think that that's one of that's one of my problems as a writer is, and probably with my novel, is you could just edit and edit and edit and edit, and it needs to be better. It needs to be perfect. This is not a perfect book. In fact, I'm about to upload the second edition because I found, some typos and some things that needed to be changed. And my earlier, younger self, like, just it would have held up longer maybe, and the tide is shifting where I think it's just like I just gotta go with it. I just gotta go and make my moves and see what happens. Um, Good news though, I got a lot of really positive feedback. Like, I have over 80 reviews on Amazon now, like
Beautiful.
4.7 stars. I've sold almost 1,000 books, and it just came out
Oh,
from August. I'm a one-person team over here aside from my friends. Where are you? There you are.
oh,
Um,
right, right, right.
yeah, I don't know where you went. Uh, so it was all really encouraging as an author, as a quote debut author, and then it's very personal. Like, it's my personal story. So the reception has probably been the thing that makes me feel the best about it, because frankly, if it had been poorly received, I probably wouldn't be motivated to keep coming on YouTube and keep writing and doing another book.
That's always the hardest thing when we dive into things. You know, we always have that fear of like, oh my God, what if it doesn't take off? What if this or what
Right.
if that? And that's just part of human nature. I think we are born with what if, you
Yeah.
know, it really it's and so um what what chapter is your favorite chapter in the book?
Oh
Do you
my
have
goodness.
one?
That's a hard that's a hard one to answer. Um, there's I don't know if I'd call it my favorite chapter, but, there was certainly a chapter in there that I thought, "Am I allowed to write this?" Um, it was, I forget what number. The chapters are all confessions, so it's confession, I wanna say number 9, where it's like, "I was too kinky even for Scientology." And not in a great way. Like, most things in Scientology are seem funny at first, but, who is it? Jamie Mustard, I don't know if you're familiar with him, but
No.
he's in the ex-Scientology community. He's an author as well, and, he describes certain things as, what does he say? You're somebody thinks that you're feeding them a cheeseburger, but they're getting broccoli. That's, like, kind of how I feel like my book is. Like, it's like, "Oh, Confessions of an Ex-Scientologist Pothead," and then you get into it and you're like, "Oh, oh,
Oh, it's a
okay.
little racy. It's a
It's a
little
little crazy up in there." Um, yeah, no, I think my favorite would probably be the one about LSD that I like. I forget which confession it is, but I was essentially pushed myself into hardcore drug use because of Scientology, and I find that ironic. So,
well, and that it's not I mean, I see that a lot,
yeah,
where yeah, I see that with a lot of the kids where they, and I say that with me doing the same thing as a kid. It's like, I was, classified when I was a little kid as ADHD, and I
uh,
was always bouncing off the walls. And so when I was young, I used to run around my mom and dad's party because they were young. I mean, they had my sister at 18 and 19, and then me at 19 and 20.
yeah,
And so they were just kids raising kids. That's what I say.
yeah,
And you get that, and it's that whole so I was just, like, bouncing off the walls. My mom and dad were like, "What the hell do we have here? A little Tasmanian devil, running around." And so I used to, like, run around the parties with they always had parties, and I would drink everybody's leftover drinks, or I'd grab their drink from them. "Oh, you need a refill? Let me refill it really quick."
right?
And so I was self-medicating a
Mhm.
lot,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
Well, I definitely
and
got
that
into
did
the cannabis from the self-medicating, but, like, the LSD, um, the only reason, so my father had a business, a software business in New Hampshire, and, like, Jenna Miscavige's parents worked for my parents, and when the company sort of split up, everybody who wanted to join the Sea Org, a bunch of families joined the Sea Org, but my family couldn't join the Sea Org because my father had done LSD in college before he got into the Sea Org. And I just remember that being the thing. It was just like, oh, we couldn't go in the Sea Org. So after I had signed my Sea Org contract at 14 at the Celebrity Center, that same building in the
Okay.
basement,
Right.
crying and just couldn't even get out of there until I signed it. And signing a billion-year contract is, I was signing away. I would never be a mom. I would never go to college. I would never accomplish, it's not just, it was just signing your whole life away. But I had a little bit of time before I actually had to go into the Sea Org. And so I knew that if I got LSD into my body, they could not actually take me. Which, at 14, 15, 14, it puts you in a dangerous situation to just be like
We
seeking illegal substances out in the
right,
world.
right,
Yeah, not a good
right.
idea.
And so did you in your audit come clear with, "Oh, I did LSD?"
Oh yeah. They know everything I've done all the way through my I've never been able. I mean, I could kind of fake the e-meter a little bit, like get out of there, but I couldn't really withhold anything like that. That'd be a really big thing. So at first I was really proud of it, but then I had to go redo my purif and there were a bunch of consequences. But I didn't have to go in the Sea Org. And they never tried to recruit me again.
Well, that was actually a smart way around it, right?
Yeah, I'm a resourceful survival person. Like
Yeah.
and that's what I did. And frankly, from there, hallucinogens do change the way you think and see the world, or they can. And so was able to have some experiences in that realm that also helped me figure myself out a little bit at the time. They just gave me an opportunity for some out of Scientology sort of spiritual experiences. So
You
that's,
just you just said something, and I wanna back up for a second. You said that
yeah.
you're a really resourceful person, right? And
Mhm.
that's one thing that I saw in you when you were here, and we kinda talked about it, and you're, expanding and, allowing your expansion with, we talked about maybe doing, like, a little book tour or talking
Mhm.
with others and all that, and I see that in you, and I see that in a lot of the Scientology kids that they're so resourceful,
Yeah.
and it's so beautiful to see because that's your inner self protecting you. Do
Yeah.
you see that?
Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. I'm pretty dang resilient as well, but I don't like getting knocked over to have to prove it over and over
Right.
again. Um, there's a little bit of both things for me. So my blog, I had this little blog for forever. It's really not a big thing. I don't have ads or sell anything on it or anything like that. It's just my own thing that I've had for years called Rustic and Resourceful, because I personally think there's such a beauty. I lived in the farm on the farm on the timber ranch at this time where like the fence is broken and you don't just go to Home Depot and buy a new fence. You get a piece of wire and you wrap it around with a piece of wood and you tighten it, and just so many ways to, I guess, to rely on yourself to fix problems in that moment. Not that you can't ask for help, but just feeling like you have the confidence that you have it in you is important to me.
I love that. And what's the blog? Where can someone find the blog?
Well, okay, so if you actually just go to liz-gale.com, that's where the list is, and that, like, forwards you to my little blog because I didn't wanna pay for double hosting. So everything's on
Oh,
my blog. Deal
I
with it.
love that. No, resourceful.
There
Hello,
you go.
right?
There you go.
There you
And
go, right there.
I've had that domain for, like, literally 6 or 7 years now and just keep paying the bare minimum because I don't wanna let it go. It's just kind of part of who I am. So over the years, I've, you know, put different stuff on it. So, yeah, I
I
think
love
I
that.
think there's a fine line between being forced to be resourceful and, like, liking to be resourceful. Like, I like, let's say, gardening and preserving food and, crafting and do it yourself stuff. I just really like that, and I feel like that's resourceful.
I love that. So you preserve, like, jams and all that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not the best. I am certainly not the guru. I go to these, every once in a while I go to these women homesteader meetings within like the community, and everyone's showing their canning, rooms and stuff. It's like dirty pictures, like, ooh, look at that one. I've stuck to the basics, but yeah, I really like growing things is really what it comes down to. And then in August or September, you have too much and it's going to be winter soon. So the resourceful thing to do is throw some in your freezer, throw some in your, canning. We do a lot of pickles, sauerkraut, the basics, relish, tomato sauce.
Oh,
Yeah.
fun. I asked, I kind of ask in like a selfish way because like, um, Jenna gave Serge and I some persimmons.
Oh, yeah.
And so I opened one up one time and it was like really bitter. And I was like, ugh. And she came over and we were talking about it. She goes, oh, they need a wrinkle. Really, they need to actually like wrinkle and they get sweeter as they wrinkle. So we've let them sit
Yeah.
for like over a month now and they look like an old man, like they're aging.
Yeah.
And she goes, they'll get sweeter. And I'm like, oh my God, I would love to make, jam out of it or
Mhm.
preservatives so that I could put it on my bagels or my toast in the morning.
Yeah.
And so maybe I could get some sort of secret recipe from you to how to do that.
Yeah.
Because I
It's
asked her and
super
she's like,
simple.
is it?
Jams, yeah, jams in particular, because jellies, you strain out all the seeds and all the chunks, but a jam is just all chunky.
Everything.
Yeah, everything,
Yeah,
which is the
I
most
love that.
resourceful way to be, in my opinion.
I think so too, right? Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
You mentioned the list and you see that I have the list
I
behind me.
do see that.
And what inspired you to do the list?
I don't know. I can't tell you an exact thing that inspired me or moment I was inspired. Frankly, there were a lot of arrests shortly before, and like just constantly all this aggression, it felt like, coming through on my social media feed about the protests. And I knew that wasn't really true. And I certainly know that the heart of the protesters aren't what the media, few articles and news have said. Um, kind of painting them in a conspiratorial negative light. And I know that's not true. But I wanted to be able to contribute in a way that felt meaningful to me, but was also peaceful, completely peaceful. And I kind of wanted I wanted people to see how freaking long that list was, to see um what we're really talking about here, because it's not just a couple of TikTokers or like a couple of this or a couple of that. What's represented there is much more than's even on that list. So, and it was
Yeah.
something I could do, and it's pencil and paper. So I like me to go back to basics, pencil and paper, and I'm good.
Well, it's a piece of, I told you it's a piece of art and I want to, make sure that we keep it forever. And every time we do an art show, we're going to bring it out and just have it there. And, you and I talked about, I'm going to help you with the list, and put it
Mhm.
into a form where I could get it printed and we'll make
Yeah.
it like handwriting and all that. How many names are on there right now? You know?
I just updated, I wanna say 184, give or take. And then I
Okay.
actually removed a couple names, and I didn't totally put a couple submissions on. There's a few more I wanna vet, so potentially around 200. And then I use Google Translate. I haven't put it up yet, but I made a TikTok where I Google translated into Spanish to ask people, to send the list. That's kind of the next step. I was also gonna talk to Serge about that, and I wanna translate the page on my website to be in Spanish, because it's actually heartbreaking, right? Like this kind of
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
made
No, no,
this
no.
yeah, I made this list and I'm like, "Hey, everybody send me your names." And just the nature of who I am, I wanna vet them, but I also wanna, like, I'm curious, who are these people? What did they so the amount of stories that people have sent me this past, like, what, 2 weeks has been a little overwhelming. Um, I'm appreciative, and I'm adding them to the list, and it's important to me. Um But it's hard. So what I had to wait and then do it
Yeah.
when I was ready to do it. so I'm trying to steel myself a little bit and get everything in order because I want to open the floodgates. And when I do, to Mexico, to South America, to Australia in particular, it's going to be a lot more. But I want that. I want that for the list. And it's actually not that original. There are lists online already. There's a list of over 3,000 ex-Scientologists or people who've spoken out against Scientology. This is different because these are kids, people who were born in or didn't make it out alive, which I think has another additional powerful message. My brother is the first name on the list. He's always the reason for me to keep fighting, for me to, not to keep I can keep his legacy alive in different ways, but there are other Scientologists who are entrusted with young children right now, special children, different children, children that have needs that are not going to get met through Scientology and through Scientology culture, rules, policies. That's concerning to me. So I don't know where the actual moment came, but like all those things are always on my heart and on my mind. And the way that I can deal with it is putting a pen or a pencil in my hand and writing. And I just wrote those names.
And so when you did this list here,
Mm-hmm.
how many names do you remember? How many it started out with?
I mean, I think on that list is like 129, I want to say. Maybe 139. I can't remember now.
So
Yeah. And so that's like the very top. I mean, I probably put the first, honestly, 40 to 50 names down just from memory. Like, just people
wow,
that I
right? Just everybody
know.
that you
Yeah. Because there's a huge amount of us out here now who have spoken out. And then I consulted some other lists, and that's where some of these unvetted names are coming around because there is a list, whyweprotest.net. And I just searched for the term born in, and there were 73 submissions, 73 names on that list alone.
wow,
But some of them, the links were broken. And then, and maybe you can help me with this like moral conundrum. There were about 6 names on that list where their proof of speaking out was just like a comment on a blog or like
mm-hmm.
one kind of forum post.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I ran into a little bit of a wall with that because I don't want to dox. I don't want to put anybody on the list who doesn't want to be on the list, who's not like actively wanting to be Googled and say, yes, don't want to be a part of this. Here's the article. Here's what I wrote. Here's what I said. One little comment on a blog doesn't quite fit that bill for me.
Right, right. No,
So,
I get that. I get that. And it's such a delicate balance,
right.
if like because and I'm just going to go kind of like to my lifestyle, growing up attracted to the same sex,
Right.
A lot of the guys in my time when I was young, they were in the closet and you didn't want to out them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
And
kind of
that's
like the same
huge
thing.
with
It's
Scientology, as you know, because it's like I'm sure, sirs, like we all get contacted by people under the radar who aren't ready to have their story told. And I mean, I know most people I respect and am friends with really take that seriously because you understand
yeah,
that someone's life essentially is in your hands. And I think over time, each one of us builds our own sort of reputation within the community. And whether we have a history of being trustworthy, with people's information. And that's really important to me.
it's
It's really important to me.
well to have integrity. Just that's my favorite concept of life, having integrity, everything I say and everything I do, and that flows over to whatever I do. If it affects someone else, I want to have integrity for them as well. So that I'm, because it does, like you said, it can affect their life, it can affect their families, radar, and all that. And so that's really a balance that, and what I would say is like, I like going back to being, attracted to the same sex. And I like my uncle for the longest time was in the closet. And I
Mm.
knew in my heart and my soul, I just felt it that he was attracted to guys as well, the same sex. And we'd go out and we'd go drinking and he'd get drunk and he'd like kind of loosen up a little bit and he'd start snapping his finger, girl, what are you talking about? I'm like, that's not a straight man, you know, but yet he was like, he protected that for so long.
Right.
And I respected that, and I protected it with him. I wasn't gonna out him to my family, to my dad especially, and any of my family. It's like, that's his choice. So that's something that with these people that are kinda like on the fence for you is to
Mhm.
really kind of like, if you can, if maybe we talked about bringing Christy into it and having her part of the team to where she can start vetting the people is like
Mhm.
make a list of the people that, that are there and then maybe she could reach out to those people and have a conversation with them. And when they're ready, they'll say, okay, I'm ready, because it is a big step for some people. Some people are, you see that even like with the, even like protesting going out on the street and protesting, it's a big step to even take that step sometime. And
It is,
so
and the evolutions of how many generations have come out, it's like also just because somebody spoke out in 1998 doesn't necessarily mean that they want to be on the list. So I'm
yeah, good for
trying to
them.
be conscious of that. That's why it was easy to start with the first people because 'cause they're all SPTV creators, and I know they want
Right,
to be out
right,
there.
exactly. They're like, Put me on the list, make it
Yeah,
bold. Laura, I wanna scream off the top of the mountain, I just
exactly,
adore. Right, exactly.
exactly.
What The one thing I wanna say about the list, what was so beautiful is, like, we talked about it and what your plan was is to kinda, like, have everybody stand behind the list, maybe perhaps near their name or by their name or
Mhm.
whatever, and hold the list up, and we'll take a big photograph and all that. You did something that was unexpected that I was just like going, "Wow." You started walking completely around the celebrity center with the list.
Yeah, that was not my idea,
Oh, it wasn't?
actually. I have
Whose
no
idea was it?
idea. I have no idea whose idea it was. It might have been my friends. I had one of my besties came and was there supporting that evening. Um, Gosh, no, I don't know. I don't know. I think it was one of those collab in the moment things. And it was so beautiful to me, right? Because I've been talking about like performance art and I've been researching performance art, especially in protest. And it's fascinating what's out there. It's wild. Um, Things that are blowing my mind. Like there's this one guy, I'm gonna get his name wrong. Alice. Anyway, I'll correct it in the comments later. Don't come for me, everybody. But he's this Hungarian guy who moved to Mexico and he does this crazy art. They put 100 people or like 1,000 people in a line and they moved a sand dune by 8 inches. I know it sounds so insane, but they just shoveled and like hundreds of people moved an entire sand dune by 8 inches. And it was like this climate, not control, but protest awareness thing.
To climate right awareness, okay.
And it's making me feel better because I'm like, why am I approaching these things in this very bizarre way? And it's because I'm a little bit of a weirdo in the art sense. And so, long story short, this started out as one thing, but it taught me like it turned into motion, right? It's not a stagnant thing anymore. And that has nothing to do with me. That has to do with the names of the people on this list and the people who were there outside. And I have to tell you, like, the energy in the universe has been moving. It's been moving since this list.
Oh,
Like, I've been getting emails, I've been getting just the universe is shifting. I don't know how else to explain. I know it's not a little woo woo over here, but when you do something and you think, I don't know what the result of this will be, but I know it will be significant in my life. And I felt kind of silly having that idea about this list because I literally, when I wrote this thing too, I unrolled it one time as much as I could in my house, but the longest stretch in my house is not a straight 75 feet.
maybe 40 feet,
Yeah, it was about, yeah.
maybe, yeah,
And so most of the time I only had like this much unrolled and then I had a board
yeah.
behind it and I'd write a name, I'd put the Sharpie and I'd erase it. So even I hadn't seen the whole list. So I experienced it, I think, just as much as anybody else. Um, and Surge in particular, what has been and continues to be like such a motivation and inspiration, and you as well, because you're art people, and there's some like general acceptance with that. And like I said, my home environment is certainly accepting of my art, and they love me and whatever. I mean, you should see this office I'm sitting in. They put up with a lot of my art crap.
I love
uh,
that. I love it. Yeah.
yeah. But I do live in like a sportsy, home. It's just very different. It's just a different vibe. And so going to be in your space down there, and the encouragement of like all of it, and the acceptance, I think I'm on a path. I started something for myself.
You had
Uh,
no idea that. Right.
yeah.
And that's what I always call the magic. In fact, this is magic right here. This is my magic piece, right?
Right.
And that's actually, I painted it when I was in my 20s, and I, painted a whole series, and I was able to identify all the characters in all the series, but I never really knew who this was. And then one day, probably about 10 years ago, I was like, "Oh my God, it's my mom. She was magic in my life." And
Oh,
so it's so that you just said that. It's like, this is the magic behind the piece, in the sense of like, there's always magic behind the piece, but we don't know what that is, or if when it's going to show or whatever. And then
right.
that night, walking around the whole building of the Celebrity Center, it was such an intense moment for everybody because it was so organic. And it was like, it was probably so freeing for all of you to be able to do that. Because those fools have cameras everywhere, and so they were probably watching you guys go all around the building, and they
Mhm,
probably have them videotaped and all that, and they probably have reviewed it many times. Who's on the
mhm.
list, or who knows what their brains are doing right now, and they're probably listening right now as we speak, you
Right.
know? So,
Okay.
hello, Scientology, I hope find some help someday.
Mhm.
Um, but, since because like Surge has been like on the go for a long time. I mean,
Right.
when I first met Surge, I knew of Scientology, but I didn't know Scientology. And, when I was an actor here in Los Angeles, and I went in and I took the personality test because they were giving free acting classes away, blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
Their little ploy to pull people in.
That
And I
old
really got a bad.
chestnut.
Right, exactly. I got a really bad feeling from him, so I just turned around and walked away. So that was my experience with it. And then when I met Serge and I got to hear his story, and then I met Lara and got to
Mhm,
hear her story, and then slowly I got to hear more and more and more, and it was
mhm.
just, for me, it was this jaw dropping. It's like,
Yeah.
God, I can't believe this is going. It's like, I always say on my lives to people, it's like Jeffrey Epstein on crack. What's going on behind these walls and what went on behind these walls. And from the time that I met Serge to where we are today, I've seen such a huge movement going forward
Yeah.
with this mission of everybody. Is just, let's get the kids out. Let's bring awareness. Let's
Mhm.
get the government involved if they pull their heads out of their, what, and let's make a difference and just protect the kids. And so it's like, it's just so beautiful for me being on the outside and now on the inside with you guys, and just loving you guys and supporting you guys any way I can. It's just like, it's just brought so much awareness to me, that's and the beauty behind all of you. I mean, when
Yeah.
you were here and we got to visit, I saw such your beauty is just so intense. It's like,
Thank
I think, it's hard for um, a lot of you to really see that in yourself because of
right.
that interior, structure that
Mhm.
was built as a kid. But it's like, I see it, and it's like, it's like us talking. It was like I could see the glow in your face, and I'd see it in your eyes, and we'd talk about something else, and you're like, oh wow, and
Mhm.
you guys don't, sometimes don't look at yourself. I always like say, take 6 feet steps back from yourself and take a look at yourself and look at the power that you have,
Mm.
you know,
Yeah.
because you're a powerful person.
Well, I
I mean,
appreciate that. I am feeling more and more powerful. You said a bunch of stuff that really stuck with me that that night, that whole weekend. Um, One thing in particular you brought up was like about the moments of rest and how after something big it can kind of feel like emptiness, but it's not really an empty feeling. It's like just a recovery feeling and to kind of lean into that. And I've thought of that so many times since that weekend. Um, because they are really big things we're doing. I don't know if it seems like that to anybody else, but to me, as just a human experiencing life on earth right now and coming to terms with everything I've been through and I'm going to do, I'm having profound moments and have been, I don't know, particularly about the protests and like, because for me, getting out of my house, getting out of my environment is not the easiest thing. And so taking that first leap and then kind of establishing that with my family and just like, "Hey, guys, remember that
guess what?
TikTok I've been doing? Well, now I'm going to LA." And that's exciting for me. I love being a mom. I love being, a housewife, and I have jobs as well, but, it's been a while since I felt that real spark of, like, excitement of art, you know?
Yeah, and I saw that in you when you were here. You
Yeah,
know, it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. It was like, and we talked so much about it.
yeah,
It was so beautiful to see it because it's like a lot of times we get it, people can I see get into an environment, they live in that environment and it's hard for them to break out sometimes, but and they want to break out.
right,
They know they know that there's this energy inside them that wants to explode into this space and
right.
they're not sure how to reach that space. And
Right.
this here gave you that space.
I
This
think yeah, that has been the sort of very first, and even looking at pictures of myself from, like, after we walked around and everything, just like, "Dang, I was on it. I was on one. I was getting it." Um, and that is the beautiful thing, right, about life. I don't know, I strived for security after I lost everything, like, so much. I just wanted to be secure. I wanted to just have my necessities covered and have a home, have a roof over my head with my children, have my children have friends and schools and, um, and that takes so much energy and love and creation on its own that it's kind of fun that the tables tide is turning a little bit to focus more of that back on myself, just a different phase of life.
yeah,
So
yeah, we talked about that and it's
lucky
like
me.
and I really encourage you to like embrace that because
Yeah.
your power is so beautiful and what you have to share is so meaningful for so many people because a lot of people don't get to experience that. They don't get to experience that, you know, breakthrough or what I call expansion that I saw that
Mhm.
you had with doing the list. I mean, that night for all the kids, and I call
Mhm.
them kids because I'm, older and I just like, it just because it's all about kids. So it's like I call them kids,
Yeah.
but it's like everybody that was there, it was so impactful for me that, I wasn't thinking I was gonna grab the little mic and talk at the end of it and all that, but
Right.
it's like I found myself so enveloped with this beauty and this love and
Yeah.
appreciation for each other and just the pain that everybody had and feeling that and feeling the breakthrough with that because all these moments are
Mhm.
breakthroughs for you guys and expansions for you guys. So you get to, you know, there's always like some, like we were talking about, there's always that low and then all of a sudden there's an expansion and all of a sudden you get to break through and you want to follow
Mhm.
that. You want to be able to allow yourself the freedom to go with that because that's what the universe wants to take you to. I've experienced that through my whole life where being a crazy little designer that I am, it's like I've been able to like have just an incredible, beautiful life and end
Mhm.
up in crazy places like Tokyo, designing stores in Tokyo. Whoever thought that I would be designing stores in Tokyo? And it was like pet stores, dog clothes stores, you
That's
know,
so
and
cool.
it was like, yeah, it was like so beautiful. And but it's like, and I get to see this in you guys in like, you get to experience this now and this is you get to
Mhm.
have this moment and so embrace these moments and don't and not don't but it's like just allow yourself that moment to breathe into it.
Yes. That is my that's my kryptonite, is those. I think a lot of ex-Scientology kids are great at producing and going, 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 going. But it's sometimes in those quiet, still moments, we learn the most about ourselves, and we have to sit with ourselves. So, yeah, I think one thing that's most valuable I've gotten from the experience, I want to say, is a permission to embrace more art, like more things that are just a little bit unexplainable and seem a little off the wall. Especially in doing more research about performance art, I'm just so inspired. I'd always grown up hearing about Yoko Ono being like the worst. She broke up the Beatles. And I don't like a lot of her weird screaming stuff, is not for me. But she did something way back in the day where she just sat on a stage and people came and cut clothes off of her. And I don't know how to explain. There's only a very small handful of people in the world that would think of that and then would see that through to execution. And that person is my hero. That person who's like, I have this crazy ass idea. I'm going to go for it. In an artistic way, not a cult leader way.
Right. No, totally. But that's the beauty of it, is to be able to do it in an artistic way.
Yeah.
Share it, because with art, you don't have to explain it. It explains itself, and it has its own interpretation for everybody.
Right.
And that's the beauty of it. It's like, a couple of my pieces, like I was at the LA art show and I was showing their, pieces, and people would come up to me and they're going, well, what is it about? And I'm like, well, what do you see?
Right. Like, I
What's
don't know.
your
You
experience
tell me.
Right, exactly. I'm like, well, what do you see? What's your experience? What
Right.
what do you see in the piece? And it was amazing because,
Mhm.
I have this piece called Propaganda
Right.
with the pops,
Yeah.
and people were just like amazed by it, and they were just like, and it was interesting to see like each person have their own interpretation of it.
Mhm.
Because I could give them my interpretation of it, but it's like me feeding them the information. I'm like, no, what do you see? I want to hear what your experience is and what you're pulling out of it. And it's quite beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
It's just,
And then the absurdity sometimes too of things like of art, or just something different for your brain, just something that your brain has to be like, wait, what am I doing? Like moving a sand dune 8 inches. My first question is why? How? What in the hell? And pretty much anything that makes me ask that question, especially when I'm laughing, is where I'm going in life. That So watch out. Yeah.
yeah, I've been really blessed in life. And it's like one of the things I got to do, like my mom worked on Love Boat,
Oh,
and,
yeah.
she was a stand-in for the little girl on the show. And so she was on there for like 10 seasons of the show. And so I was always working in the background because I always wanted young kids in the background by the pool, the Lido deck, and all that. So I was always on the show. And then in 1985, Andy Warhol was the guest star. And I got to sit with Andy for a whole week, and we talked about art. We talked about the
Um,
factory in New York. And it was just like, and I showed him magic. I showed him all my series and all that. And he just dug it. And it was like such a beautiful person. But, people would look at him and go, oh, he's kind of like way out there, but
right.
to really, really get to know a person of that, artistic.
Mhm.
And he said like, he just kind of fell into it. It was just like, boom, there it was, and all of a sudden he became this icon, and
Right.
that wasn't his intention, he was just having fun and doing drugs and doing all his things, but it's like,
Mhm.
it's just been so beautiful. So it's like, I just love, and that's why I was like so excited really when you left and I saw the scroll here, the list here, right?
Mhm.
Sitting on our table over there. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so happy that it's here because we could keep it safe and we get to bring it to all the art shows. And, it's like, it's just such a beautiful piece. And it's just like, there's so much power behind it. And in everybody that looks at it is going to have a different interpretation of it.
Mhm. I'm glad. I'm glad that you have it, because like I said,
Yeah.
I'm a post and ghost kinda girl. I was like, "What list? I don't know.
But there's
What
no,
happened?"
no,
Burn it.
no,
That's
no,
what I
no.
said. Serge was like, "I'm not gonna burn it." I was like, "You can burn it." He's like, "I'm not burning it."
No, no, no. saving it. It's history. It's
Yes,
history.
I love that. I
You know,
love that others see that. It took I'm seeing what others are seeing, but it's great to have friends that, you know, tell me no.
we're like, "Ah, no." The one of the beautiful things was, like, at the end, you guys laid it down on the
Mhm,
sidewalk, and we were out last night at La Poubelle with the protest of the kids, Jessica, Chris, and all the bits,
mhm.
and they now have got this big box of chalk, and last night, they were writing everybody's name that were here on the chat on the
Oh,
sidewalk, and it was really and that this inspired that,
that's
you
so
know?
cool.
It was so beautiful because, like, one had their list, and then Jessica had her list, and Chris had his list, and they were
Mhm,
just it was so beautiful to watch them, and they were just so into it. They were just like they
mhm,
just dove into it, and they were just like one name after another name after another name
mhm.
after another name, and what was really funny is, like, I said, the people coming out of La Poubelle, they would walk out and they would see the chalk and the names and all that, and they were afraid to step on it, right? And
Right.
I'm like, "You're afraid to step on chalk on a sidewalk, but you're okay walking into a restaurant that supports a rapist."
Yeah, that's strange. It would lead me to believe that they just don't know.
They don't well, and I did find a couple that walked out, and I started talking to them, and they're like, "What? We had no idea."
Right.
So there's a big movement going on, and it's just getting bigger
Mhm,
and bigger. It's like I remember, talking about, meeting for the first time, like, I remember meeting Laura here,
mhm,
and her power is her voice.
mhm,
And whether it's, live streaming or whatever, but she sat here and she sung her that one, "Hold Me Tight," that song, "Don't Let Me Go," "Far
mhm.
Away from Home," and all that, and she sang it a cappella here, and it was, like, so beautiful. It just, like,
Um,
grabbed my heart and just wrapped it around her, and I was like, "Oh my god, the words, the power, the beauty
mhm,
behind it," and it's art. It's like, and now Serge is on stage with her singing at the,
mhm.
different shows that they do together, and it's, like, so beautiful to see 'em, and it's performance art.
Yeah, yeah, and
You
there's such a beauty in like, that inspires me. Lara and Serge in particular inspire me because, um, yeah, just, like, living their truth, speaking their truth, singing their truth, wearing their truth, shouting their truth, showing up for the truth. Um, I wish I wanna be more like them, so it's good. It's good to have
well,
friends that
you
you look
are.
up to, you know?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, not in a way where I, like, feel like they're on a pedestal, way beyond, but,
No,
um,
they inspire you.
they inspire me, yeah, and, like, lift me up, I think, to let me express myself in a way that I don't have to explain or apologize for, and that's rare, especially when you're changing, right? Like, there's a lot of people who aren't comfortable with change. I mean, change is not comfortable. It just usually
No,
is not comfortable.
right.
Um, and some people wanna keep you in the status quo or they're, like, worried what will happen or whatever. So, having friends that genuinely are just like, "Soar, baby, soar," is key in this world.
Well, and that's what I see for you, like, you're soaring, you know? When you were here and we were talking about it, it's like, you're just it's what you started here, what you created here is just a more power to the movement, but it's like, this is your art,
Mhm, mhm.
this is your art. You created it. I want you to sign it back.
Oh, yeah, I
You
could
should
see that.
Yeah, you should sign it. We should have your signature on it, and, maybe it's if you can remember a date you started or the date you finished or something like that, maybe a couple days
Mhm.
before the protest or whenever, is put the date on there because that's one thing that I, as an artist, didn't do with a lot of my pieces is I never dated them. I would
Right.
just go ahead and I would sign them, and
Okay.
then I would, like, look back and I'm like, "When did I do that piece?"
Right.
And I wish I woulda dated them. So it's like, yeah, definitely if you could figure a date, put the date on there because that date's really important.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. I heard that down in Chicago, there were a bunch of kids that said screamed out the whole list name for name, and at David Miscavige when he was there, and that felt surprising. I mean, not really surprising, but like pleasantly surprising. Like, how to explain? Hmm. If you create something and then you're the only person that creates it, that's one experience. And sometimes that's great. Like for my book, that's one of the reasons I self-published, because I wanted full control. I wanted every single thing in that book to be something that I controlled. It's my book. This is different. This started out as one thing that I started, but it's like it feels as if the community has taken it, and now these kids in Chicago or all over. I'm not used to that. It's a new experience, and it's a new way to experience art, and it's strange to start something and then it's almost like you're my kid, right? Like you start
Yeah,
it
it
and you
is. It
feel like
is.
it's yours, and then you see it go out into the world.
Big,
Um,
yep.
and you hope for big things, and you hope that someone will notice it and care for it like you do. So I feel so fortunate, but I don't think I'm soaring yet. I genuinely think I just started taking off.
Yeah, yeah, no, I see that. No, that seriously, I
Yeah,
see that.
I'm
And I want to
excited.
say something about the Chicago thing that you just brought up is like,
Mhm.
I remember Serge walking in the room and showing me the kids screaming out your guys' names in Chicago.
What did he say? Was he
And
like,
no,
wild?
it was so impactful. It was so intense. It was like it brought tears to my eyes just listening to it and listening to them.
Mhm.
And because it's like it's created like this um living art.
Yeah. It's so insane. Like, I'm living for this right now. And there's something
Yes.
about, I mean, language is powerful. That's one thing I learned coming out of Scientology, is that cults use language to control your mind. Like, the way that you construct your actual thinking of the world is represented by your language. And names almost evoke, it's a whole person. It's a whole. So then having hundreds of these names that have this in common, and different people in the audience recognizing a name, or different people watching, like I had some messages, my sister's on that list. It was so wild. Thank you for putting her on there. It almost creates like a fabric in the universe where more people are involved. And I'm
It's so
again
it's
not,
weaving together.
yeah. And this is all very new for me, especially in a way where I'm truly being authentic because for a huge portion of my life I didn't have that luxury. So
They didn't have the
I'm
opportunity. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. That said, I think all of us who actually went down to LA this last time and were holding the list and all of that, it definitely snuck up on me how emotional I like, the emotional toll after the kind of high and the like logistical aspect of it. And that's something that I'm learning I need to take more care. I will be taking more care in the future. Um, with myself. We will be scheduling a spa day, is what this equates to. The day after,
Right.
I'm not leaving LA. I'm staying for another day, and we're going to get massages, pedicures, oxygen, maybe a little banana bag, the whole nine.
Well, I think we should get a Airbnb out in Palm Springs and head out to
Oh,
Palm Springs for a long weekend and do the
yeah.
spa day out there and just, because it's like you do have to have that decompression
Yes.
after such an emotional moment, because if you don't give it to yourself, it's going to sit inside you until you do, until you identify it,
Yeah.
breathe through it, and allow it to be what it is. Because like each person that was there, and I've talked to many of the kids, they've all had these emotional moments that they had to like, and I said, stop,
Yeah.
do self-care,
Yeah.
give yourself a moment,
Right.
you know, and breathe,
Yeah.
because it was a pretty intense day, even for me.
Yeah,
I
for
mean,
sure.
people last night, it was my first time on a live since last night. Serge is like, "Oh, the kids are out. Let's go say hi." And I'm like, "Okay, let's go." And it was the first time I actually picked up and started a live last night. And people were like, "Oh my God, we miss you. Where have you been?" it was a really, truly emotional moment for me, so I can't imagine what it was for you guys.
Yeah, I still don't know. I
Yeah,
still am
no.
trying. I journal quite a bit and try to put it into words. Well, I'm always writing, right? I'm working on a book now, but I've got these 3 in this series that I wanna do: The Confessions of the Pothead, Ex-Scientologist Pothead, Confessions of an Ex-Scientologist Mom, and then Confessions of an Ex-Scientologist Activist. And so, for the past, year or so, I've been trying to document, and I feel like it just gets crazier and crazier. And I go to write in my journal, I think, I didn't think I was gonna write something bigger than I wrote before. But there's something great about this one for me because I feel like I might have given that ball like an early kick early on in the inertia. I kind of helped it start in the very beginning, and I take pride in that.
You should.
Yeah,
You should. Every
good.
single one of you should, because it's like it takes a team.
Yes.
A movement can't happen with just one person. It
No.
takes no, it takes a team, and it's like I even talk about that with, like, with pets. It's like, even with our pets, it takes a team. It takes a vet. It takes, a dog walker. It takes a parent. It takes, a nutritionist, to really take care of your pet, to take care of your kid.
Mhm.
It takes the teachers, every part of that is a team.
Right,
Friends, it takes a team for us to get through life and for you guys to be able to bring this movement where it is today and to see it's not been because of one person. It's
right.
because of all of you. You
Yeah,
know, some
and the
may
people
some
that
may
came before us.
Yeah, and the people that came before
Mm.
us or before you guys, and, I was gonna say, and some people may scream louder than others, but it's not like just because they scream louder doesn't mean that they're the one. It's all of you.
Exactly, exactly.
It's
And yeah, and that's why I think for me, I like ways that we all can participate, sort of doing a similar thing. It's like the teacher in me. It's like the little
of
preschool
course.
teacher in me, like, "Okay, guys, it's process over product. Like, just come over here and put your hands on this thing and see how you feel." But I'm
Right,
good at
yeah.
herding up cats, so maybe this is my this is my thing.
This is your thing, and you jump on a mountain and scream it. That would be really good therapy for, you to go
Right?
to a mountaintop and just scream,
All the
you
names.
know? Just like you scream the names, scream your name, you know, "I'm alive," or whatever, it's
Mhm,
just like just to let that energy out and be able
mhm,
to open that up because like you were saying, it's like you're a mom, you're a wife, you're a
mhm.
housewife, you got your chores, you've got your kids, you got your husband, and that's a whole playground in itself.
Right.
And what you're doing right now is you're expanding with this new playground with this, what's happening right now with you is it's a new playground and you get to
Mhm,
play in it with others and you've got your look at how many people
mhm.
are in that playground with you. And that's what's
Yeah.
so beautiful and that's what happened that night is that you
Mhm,
all got together and you were playing in the same playground. Even before we got there and did that, we were at the Airbnb
mhm.
and that was I mean, part of it was really intense for me because watching Serge do the audit
Right.
with the kids upstairs on the e-meter, I've
I
never
didn't go up there
seen
at
that.
all. I
Yeah, no, I'm sure it was I mean, for me, it took me days to get over just seeing that, and
Yeah.
someone in the chat says, "Oh, why don't you sit in the chair, Michael, and have Serge give, do," and I'm like, "Oh, no, 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 no." I mean, I could barely just stand there and watch him do it
Mhm.
and then realize in my head, he was 12 years old doing this to adults,
Right.
It's like when
Yeah.
you
It's
you start to
important to
think of
see
it.
it though, right? And that's why I brought, even though I didn't
Yes,
wanna be up in the room, I was like, well, and I wish it worked better, but even then, just the experience of, like, sitting there. And Serge has said something lately that really stuck with me, that, like, the cans are the restraints. I was gonna say handcuffs, but
the
that's not right.
handcuffs, yeah.
But it is, you're restricting your movement, you're restricting your accessibility, you're restricting your access to food and water, to fresh air, to freedom, by having to sit there holding the cans. So, I'd like to explore that a little bit too. I have 3 e-meters. Someone sent me people are sending me the most fascinating things. I got sent an email today, about like an article about puppets, huge puppets in
Prote-
protesting.
protest,
I can't
right?
even talk anymore, yeah. And I thought that was really cool. I think it'd be really interesting to, like, henna the names all over my body. I've always had this thing I've wanted to do was to have a tattoo, all like henna, just henna,
Right,
all
right.
over my body, my face and everything, and see how people would treat me. I don't know, I'm curious. Um, so I think I'm gonna get
I
real wild here
love that,
coming up.
Liz. I love that, because, like, in the Indian weddings, they do
Yeah,
that. They henna all over their
yeah,
hands and everything. It's like, so you can find one of those artists to do it for
mhm.
you, and just to be out there in a protest with that is
Be
like,
crazy,
wow.
right? Well, I even have
Oh,
several, they're like Sharpies that are just temporary tattoo pens. You can just
yep,
not as beautiful probably. I think one of my son's friends does do henna. It'd be cool to have the names, but really cool art with all the dots and the lines. Make it look
right,
cool.
exactly. Like
Mhm.
like they do for the weddings. It's like they
Mhm.
have all the little figures,
Yeah.
yeah, symbols. Uh-huh. I
Yeah.
love that. I love that thought. Wow.
It's fun, yeah. And then I'm also working on my red string project, which I actually just sent to the printer, good old printing online. 50 pages of all types of like digital art that I've been throwing together to put on my detective board. So that's going to be really, really cool. I hope to get a space for it because I'm going to have like 12 boards. They're all about 3 by 5, 3 foot by 5 foot. So it's going to be a walkthrough type thing. So lots and lots and lots of plans. I think I finally have given myself the permission to see maybe not all of them through at the same time because, like I said, short content, I have the attention of a goldfish.
Right,
um,
right, right.
but yeah, just being able to, I don't know, to have an idea and go with it.
No, and
Love
that's
it.
what you do. That's the whole goal, is like that idea right there. And I always say in design for me is I'll think of something and the first thought is right here.
Right.
Okay. And by the time I execute it, it's changed and it's here. And that's
Right.
when it comes together and the beauty and the magic. If you try to stick to just this,
Right.
you'll never get to here. So you've got to
Yes.
allow yourself the freedom to, like, almost let this sit and
Yeah.
kind of grow and mature in its own
Mhm.
way, because with that, organically, it will get to here and it will
Right.
become the piece that it's supposed to be.
Exactly, and I think that there's a self-trust and a confidence and a leap of faith when it comes to the
Yep.
creativity, because, I mean, all good things are take a leap of faith, right? Everything new, there's always 1,000 people that'll tell you you're crazy, and then you do it, and then there's 10,000 people who love it. So, it's weird. Being
Well,
a human is
there's a
weird.
yeah, being it's really an interesting concept. You sit there and
Yeah.
you're like going, y- I've always I was a kid that was never inside the box. My mom couldn't keep
Mhm.
me inside the box. I wasn't, I always questioned rules and regulations with just society in general, and I
Right,
came across this one little crazy little thing that I do with people, and I sit there and I always go, okay, I have two ice cream cones in my hand, remember? And what flavors are they? And 90% of the people and all the people in the chat right now just named two flavors, and a lot of them probably said vanilla and chocolate.
right,
And they say vanilla and chocolate because that's the interpretation that life has given them and we grew up with. I mean, black
right,
and white, vanilla and chocolate. And so, but then you have to stop and say, okay, what's your favorite ice cream?
right.
I had ice cream last night and it was, black cherry and chocolate. And it was like so delicious. And it's
So
one of my
good.
favorites, so
Cherry
it's like, to,
Garcia.
yeah. So to be able to get
Mhm.
out of the box of vanilla and chocolate and experience life in what life can be for you,
Right,
because it's your life.
right.
You get to do whatever you wanna do in life, and you get to have the most fascinating time with life, and so you get to choose the playgrounds you get to play in,
I
and
know,
that's
and
what you're
that's
doing.
so yeah, that's so fun because I don't think I've ever been really the person that saw the chocolate vanilla, but but I've always felt like I was supposed to save the chocolate and vanilla for so
Yeah,
long, and then I just believed the chocolate and vanilla, and then I secretly thought, "Well, it's probably not just chocolate and vanilla, I really like these other flavors," and now I'm just like, "Nope, it's cotton candy, unicorn sprinkle, gumdrop, and
exactly.
maybe chocolate because that's really yummy."
Yeah, yeah, I do, and I do like vanilla. I like vanilla,
I know,
but it's like,
it's classic,
but
but yeah.
that's the magic is you get to choose.
Right,
And that's the real meaning behind it is you get to choose with those ice cream, like,
right. But there's
and
a
you get to choose.
safety needed to branch out, I think, from that chocolate and vanilla, and in my case, I think it's well earned, taken a long time, but I don't know, now there's no stopping me. Watch out, world.
And go for it, and that's what you have to do is just go for it and enjoy it. And in my design world that I grew up in, it's like there's times where like, yeah, I've like stumbled a little bit or this didn't work out the way I wanted it to. But once again, it's because I had to learn that the moment that I think of the idea, it doesn't stop here.
Right,
It's just the beginning of it, the path of the life of the piece or whatever I'm working on.
right,
And it stops over here and it stops where it blossoms where it's supposed to blossom.
for sure. It's that first little bit that in the past, I mean, I must have a great muse, just constantly ideas, 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 and just put like, "No, that's not practical. That's not safe. That's not gonna put a roof over my head." All these different things, which were valid and also very survival in the moment. But what a luxury, right? What a luxury to be able to know that you don't know who you are all the way, and that you get to explore that through something that's always excited you. That's what I'm looking at right now. I'm looking at I knew who I wasn't. I figured out who I wasn't. I figured out all the things I wanted to cut out of my life. I've established some really basic core values. Now I can get weird. Now I can have fun. I feel like I've I don't know, loose I don't seem like I feel like I've loosened up. That I just
You
feel like
loosen up and you let your hair down and you're
yeah.
like, "Wee!" But
In general,
that's the
yeah,
magic of
and I guess
life.
that also comes with age and stability I have a wonderful partner who really does provide, endlessly for my family to help me be in a position that I can focus on, you know, these things as I can.
Yeah, and that's yeah. Well,
I love
I
it.
know we said that we were gonna you said that you had to maybe stop around 1. We're at 1:25. How are you doing with time right now? Are you good?
Pretty good. I'll probably have to go pick up kiddo from school pretty soon. I don't know,
Okay.
do you usually take questions when you do your
Yeah,
lives?
you know what? Let's do that. Let's go
Okay.
ahead and take some questions and, let's go ahead and let's see.
I love being the guest because
You
I have no control. I can't star, I can't do anything.
Oh, really? You can't do any of that, huh? And see,
Mhm.
I'm still getting used to this platform and how it works. It's like when we brought the one question up, I was like, "Okay, now how do I get rid of it?" It took me
Oh,
a while
yeah.
to realize how to get rid of it. Um, okay, so anybody in the chat, if you have a question for Liz, let it rip. Let's go ahead and let's see. I see right here someone's asking. This is a simple one. We'll start there. Okay, let's see if I could get it up there. Someone you were talking about like the farm and all that, and their question is, where do you live?
Oregon. Yep, I'm a
Oregon.
Oregonian.
Yeah. How do you like it there?
I love it. I'm about a couple hours from the mountain, an hour from Portland, an hour from the beach. I live in a very safe, small town. My biggest complaint is that it's a little boring, but that's great.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I love that. I lived in Columbia, Missouri for a while, and it was only 76,000 people. I think shared this with you
Yeah,
when you were here. And it was one of my favorite places I've ever lived.
yeah.
You know, besides Italy, I love Florence. I lived in Florence for a while. And
Probably
that
can't
was
beat that.
yeah, there's nothing that can really beat that. So here we
Yeah.
have a question. What art project are you both working on at the moment? What's next?
Mhm.
Liz?
Well, I mean, I'm working on book number 2 and my another rendition of the list and my red string project, so I've got quite a bit going on. I'll show you guys pictures of my as an artist, like, I don't wanna wait until my art is completely finished to present it. I want people to be involved in the process, but then I also start to feel, like, kind of possessive over my art. Like, I don't know. I haven't quite found that perfect line yet. I need to get there. Yeah.
with my art, I've been the same way. It's like it's been really hard for me to sell my art.
Oh,
It's,
right. Yeah.
because it's like, because like when I do art, I usually just do like one piece of that art,
Mhm,
and it's like there's some pieces that I prepared to make additional copies of that piece, like the
mhm.
propaganda. I've actually, I've got 6 that I'm putting together right now, and those
Oh,
are gonna be
cool,
for sale, and they're
cool.
the little miniature ones, but
Right.
it took me a long time to get to the point where I could let that go, and I go to there was a documentary with, uh, a big fashion designer, what's his name? God, I can't think of it right now, but he passed away and his partner, um was selling all their houses and all the things that they had acquired throughout the years, and there was an interviewer asking him, "Well, why are you doing this? Aren't you, like, attached to these pieces?" And he said, "No." He goes, "You know what I'm doing?" And the interviewer goes, "What?" He goes, "I'm giving it a new life.
Aw. Yeah.
I'm allowing it to have a new life, so the art
Mhm,
gets to go somewhere else and create magic where it goes, and
mhm,
so it gives it a new life, and the people around it get to experience that peace, and it gives it a new life." So that really made an impact to me, and
mhm.
I was like going, "Wow, okay, so I'm gonna give my art a new life." And it's been pretty magical because I was actually looking on Facebook the other day, and I came across this party, and I started looking at the party, and people were dancing, and all of a sudden I look in the background, and there was one of my pieces of art in the background. And I was
That's
like going,
wild.
I mean, for me to be just happen
Yeah.
to be looking and just stop and look at the pictures, and I was like going, "Oh my god,
Wow.
there's my circle of life."
Wow.
Yeah, it was really, really, really
Mhm.
cool. So that's my, letting go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, let's see,
Love
here we'll
that.
go here's one right here. Let's see, question. Do you find the process of creating or seeing, sharing finished product more than healing?
I'm
Art
a
more
process over
healing?
product kinda girl. I think that's the early childhood training in me. Like, when you sit down to make art with young children, it's never about the product. I mean, maybe sometimes it is, but usually it's just about the process, just exploring, holding, exploring the colors, the materials. So, I'm a process kinda girl. I'm never sure when something's done, and then I just finally say, "Screw it. I'm over it."
I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm the same way. I agree with you. I'm the same way. It's like when I paint, it's like I don't know where it's gonna finish. And then once again, it's that whole process that I was
Right.
talking about starts here and it ends there. And we never know where it's gonna end, but when it ends,
Right.
it ends. And we're like, okay, on to the next thing. And we don't
Yep.
know when the next thing is gonna come or when you're gonna be inspired to do the next piece.
Right.
Yeah, so Sam, thank you for your question. Okay,
Thanks,
let's go
Sam.
here. See, now this is where I get a little lost here. Like, how do I get rid of that comment? Did I just
It
pop up
probably just
another?
says hide. Anywhere on that line probably just has a little button at the top says hide comment.
Well, it said that, but then it like, oh, there it goes. I got it. I got it. Okay, we're getting it. Okay, I'm learning, guys.
Doing great.
Let's see. Do you see the comments?
I see them. I don't think I can do anything with
Okay.
them. If you right when you said for questions, a few came up,
Oh, we did
but
that.
yeah.
We just did that one, right? Okay, let's go.
Oh, I don't think we did that one. It was the same person.
Oh, sorry, Sam. Here, let me go. We're going to go back to you, Sam. Okay, question. How do you both decompress big from the big protest? You mentioned a spa day didn't happen, but what did?
I went home and I resumed life right away and did not have much of a decompression period at all until my body, my mind, and my heart basically exploded with emotion onto themselves. And then I thought, well, I better I better get this under control because I don't know. I think I told you this, Michael, but I was so brain fried when I got home at 10 o'clock on Sunday night. I won't even say home, to Portland, that I could not find my car in the economy parking lot. Like, could not find it. The pin that I had dropped was not available. And I think it was like such an emotional overload that it was borderline unsafe, frankly. I should have had a babysitter with me at that point, truly. So yeah, so I did it all wrong. I know what I would do differently, but I didn't play my cards real well on that one. Live and learn. I never did this before.
Right. So I wouldn't say that you did it all wrong. Okay. So I'd lose that concept about doing it all wrong, because what you did is you did it all right. Because you
Well,
learned that next time you're going to
yeah.
do this differently. And that's the same thing for me. It's like when I first started protesting with Surge and all the protesters, and all of a sudden all this police activity started happening, every time the police would pull up and they were so corrupt, I would look at them and I'd see my dad.
Yeah.
And it would just like, and because I saw the corruption way back then with my dad and all his friends. It was just like, it's horrible.
Right.
And it's just, you sit there and I just see it. And it's like, I had no idea. But like after the protest, like I said, it took me 2 weeks to really get back onto a live, but did the exact same thing. Our business, our pet business is just growing like mad. And so there's like so many projects, and, then I had to design like something like 18 or 32 pages, and I just dove into those 32 pages and redesigned them and printed them, and so I just started doing all that just to,
Mhm.
jump back into work. I did the exact same thing. So that was kind of like my self-care, was actually to do something that I love,
Right.
which was working with the pets and the stores and
Mhm.
people with their pets, and just helping pets all around the United States. And
Mhm.
so that's where I got my centered back, it's like
Yeah.
just boom. And I always say this, it's like when we're in alignment, our life will go like this.
Mhm.
But there's moments that our life gets out of alignment,
Mhm.
And so the first thing you want to do is find something that you really love to do, whether it's listening to music or
Right.
doing an art project or whatever it might be, being a mom, whatever it might be, because that will slowly bring you back into your alignment. Because that's where you
Yeah.
want to really live your life, is in that alignment. Because once you're in alignment, you want to be at a high vibration. And when you're at a high vibration, that's where the magic happens,
Yep. Everything
you
just
know?
comes to fruition in that magic
Y
space. And I've been there and I've touched it and I've jumped in and then woken up and said, "Where did it go?" But
Where
I
where did
want
you go? Get your ass
I
back
want
here, right?
more. Um, but yeah, I will say, okay, this sounds probably really bratty of me. I never want any of my friends to have a hard time or suffer in any capacity, but it sure made me feel better when, after 5 days of being home, I was able to reach out to people who were at the protests and be like, "Hey guys, I don't feel normal. Uh, I don't know what's wrong with me." And pretty much everybody was just like, "Nope, you're normal. We're all," like, that was a lot. Felt like a lot. Um, so yeah, just another reason I think that this community has continued to teach me. It's pretty sweet. Oh
Yeah,
my
and it's
gosh.
every day, like even last night, watching the kids write the names on the sidewalks. It was so beautiful to watch that,
Yeah.
because it was just that's how beautiful this moment is. Like the scroll, you
Mhm.
know, it made an impact. It made an impact in Chicago when they were screaming the name, yelling
Yeah.
the names. It's like, it's it's magic. It's like
Yeah.
I always go back, and it's really magic. So Stacy's question: my daughter starts college in the fall and wants to be an artist. Do you have any advice that I could pass on to her?
Gosh, Stacy, I mean, good on you that you congratulations that you raised a daughter who's going to college.
Yay.
Yay. Um, I don't know. I don't feel qualified to answer this just yet, but I would say if I was going into college in the fall and wanted to be an artist, I would just need someone to tell me to be confident to my vision, and whatever my vision of art is, to embrace it and not worry about what anybody else thinks or how they perceive it. That's my advice.
Yeah, I agree. It's like I always share, and you know, I don't like to say I don't teach art, I share art, I
Mhm.
share possibilities. And so, Stacey, I would say for your daughter is just, like what Liz is saying here is like, follow her passion.
Mhm.
If she wants to be, if this is her, her alignment, if art brings her into alignment, have her follow that alignment and follow her passion. And
Mhm.
like Liz said, don't listen to the outside world
Right.
because there's a lot of critics out there that are
Mhm.
sitting home eating popcorn and has all the advice in the world, but they're sitting home eating popcorn. Let her just find her passion and just go with it. And there's no wrong art. There's nothing when you create art, and this is like really, really beautiful because Serge Oblinsky,
Yeah.
right? And my Serge.
Mhm.
Well, Serge went to lunch with a bunch of the kids
Mhm.
and met Serge. And Serge told his story to, Serge. And Serge is like, well, why don't you come over to our house and let's do some art together and do an
Mhm.
art show? And he was here yesterday. And he
Mhm.
comes like once a week. And it's so beautiful because, at first he was like, I don't know, and he doesn't have hands because he
Mhm.
lost them, in his childhood. But his art is so beautiful. It's so magical to see those two work together side by side and do art. It's just like, and nowadays he's just like, he comes into our place and he's like, today I want to do this, this, and this.
Mhm. That
And
confidence has built.
yep, the
Love
confidence is
that.
built, and
Mhm.
and it's so beautiful to see because when he first came here, he was kind of like really just like, in that little shell. So, and he's now like yesterday, I was just like, oh wow, and even Serge did a little live on it, you guys, and it was just. And he was just you'll see him in the live. It's like so beautiful. It's so beautiful to see it. So, it's just magical. So yeah, just have her follow her dreams and just follow her what she wants to do
Mhm.
and for her art. And there's no wrong piece.
Exactly.
So that's our okay. Let's see what else we have here.
I should probably go soon. Let's do 2 more questions, yeah?
Okay, I was just going to ask you. Okay, let's see this one right here. Uh, let me find a question here. Okay, here we go. Let's see what this one is. Question: how do you practice emotional grounding, and what is your emotional and spiritual anchor? This-
Oh, it's a deep question, huh? Um, well, honestly, I usually go back to the basics. I truly do. I usually emotional grounding, I will, like, organize something. I'll take an everything bath. I will, like, start at the basics. Is my body clean? Have I been fed? Um, I don't know. I probably honestly emotional and spiritual anchor. I probably put too much on my husband, to be honest with you, because he definitely like there's a I'm a we're both pretty physical people, physical touch, physical connection. Um, so like snuggling and snuggling my dog always makes me feel grounded. Um, I don't know. I'm gonna think about this question a lot more because if you'd asked me 2 weeks ago, I think I would have rattled on a few things to you that I tried this week that didn't work. So now I'm questioning everything.
yeah, for me, it's like I go back to the alignment. It's like I find something that I really love to do, and that grounds me.
Yeah.
And because we need to be out of alignment. There's no perfect alignment. We need to be out of alignment for us to have expansion.
Right.
Because there's those moments where, and what I always say, this is one of the things I always say too, and I shared this with you, Liz. Like I say, make two lists. What is it right now that's not working in your life that's pulling you out of your alignment, and look at it. And whatever it is, um, you just write like, well, this is not working for me because this is da 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 da, da, and you just write whatever it is, and then you
Mhm.
make another list over on the other side, and you write what you want instead.
Mhm.
What is it you want instead? Well, I want this to look like this, and I want this and this and this. So if you sit here and you stare at this list over here, you're going to be attracting that list.
Right.
So what you want to do, and I always tell people, let me stand up for this one. I always tell people, you look at this list for a second, and then you pivot, and you
Mhm.
look at this list, and you stay focused on this list, because if you stay focused on that list, that will come to you.
Right.
As people, a lot of times people, it's a human thing in our head, I think, is like a lot of people have a tendency to focus on this list too long,
Right.
and they keep attracting it. It's like they'll go from one relationship to the next relationship to the next relationship and meet the exact same person that maybe is abusive or whatever it might be, that it
Mhm.
wasn't working, and saying, well, I want someone that's not abusive, and actually start looking here, and then they'll
Mhm.
attract that person. So that's one of my tools that I use, is I pivot all the time. And I always say to people, do this for 30 days, because if you actually pivot for 30
Mhm.
days from this list to this list, subconsciously after 30 days, your mind's going to be pivoting the moment that something's not going right.
Right. Well, it's
You'll
so
you'll
true.
so
Yeah, and so much focusing on what you don't want, it only gets you so far, really.
it gets you what you don't want.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's tricky with the long process of leaving a cult because often you have to
Totally.
establish, like, "I don't want, I don't want, I don't want," and then that rebuilding of self, especially the older you are, is, like, it's challenging. So it's great to come into the space of what you do want. It's very powerful.
Well, I think let's wrap it up there. Okay.
Cool. Yeah.
And Liz, I want to say thank you. Thank you. I know we've been talking about this, and we just gave it the right time to be here
Mhm.
together today. And
Yeah.
this worked out beautifully. And I just want to thank you for you being you,
Thank you.
and for the magic that you've brought into my life, because you have brought so much magic into my life. And just, that moment with you there in that weekend of protest, and what you did with this list, and everything that you're doing in your life. It's like, and what we talked about, I just really, really appreciate it. And I just want to let you know, I think you're just an incredible human being. And it's just like, when your path before you is just so beautiful, and just baby steps. Sometimes it's just baby steps, because if you try to take a big jump into something, you're missing all the important stuff in between. So just do the baby steps, because with those baby steps, you'll get exactly where you want to go. So thank you for coming today and sharing your time with us and with everybody in the room. Thank you guys, everybody, for being here today.
Yes.
And we love that you're here. Liz, would you like to say anything?
Thank you guys all for watching, and thank you, Michael. I know for a fact that you being in my environment for over the 2 times I did experience coming down to LA to the protest, um, helped me. Your energy and your support, everything, really, honestly, really helped make the experience and will always be part of my core memory of that time. So I'm super grateful for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, go
Awesome.
have fun with your picking up your kid today.
Yes.
And once I start the book, everybody go get the book on Amazon. Okay. I want everybody to get the book on Amazon. Start reading it, because we're going to have a question and answer with Liz with her book, and we'll just break it down. We don't know how many chapters, or what did you call them? Not
Confession.
chapter. What's that?
Confessions.
Confession. So with each confession, we'll be breaking it down. We don't know how many we'll get through in a day. We'll just pick it up the next week or whatever.
Cool.
And we'll just dive into Liz's confessions, everybody. So be sure that you get the book, and let's make that a plan for us all to get together again and just have a wonderful time with Liz.
Yeah,
Thank you
let's
guys. Everybody have a beautiful, beautiful day. Thank you for being here. I'm so honored, and just love all your support. So keep coming back. We're just going to have more fun and meet more interesting people and hang out with the people that we've met. And Liz is one of them. So you go have a beautiful day. Okay, honey?
Yeah, you too. Okay, I'll see ya.
All right.
Bye,
All right.
everybody.
Bye, everybody.